Well, I got to tell you, when I'm picking out history of the hymns, hey, don't get too concerned when I take my coat off. I just tend to brush my sleeve all the time in the strings. But sometimes I panic over the history of the hymns because I like to have the next hymn picked out a week in advance. Well, Sunday night, as I was traveling home, I thought, what are we going to do Wednesday night? So I kind of did this in reverse. I kind of went through some of my Dulcimer song books first, and I found a song, and it's in our hymnal. It's number 270. It's there at the bottom. It's easy to overlook. It's there on the left hand at the bottom. And so I wondered if this hymn had a story. Most of them do, or at least a story worth telling, or something compelling, telling and compelling. Of course, everybody knows this song. How many remembers this song from the Billy Graham Crusade? Anybody ever channeled by Billy Graham? When they did the invitation, they always sang this song every single time, the 70s and 80s. And that was back when Graham Ministries was true fundamental ministry. Song goes back to 1836, and I looked up, and I've got 3 or 4 volumes of this now. Then Sings My Soul, which is 150 of the world's greatest hymn stories by Robert J. Morgan, who's a preacher, by the way. And so he quotes a verse here, John 6:37. And here's a story behind Just As I Am. She was an embittered woman, Charlotte Elliott, and you'll see her name there on the left on the hymnal, of Brighton, England. Her health was broken, and her disability had hardened her. If God loved me, she muttered, he would not have treated me this way. Hoping to help her, a young Swiss minister, Dr. Caesar Milan, visited Miss Elliott on May 9th of 1822. And over dinner, Charlotte lost her temper and railed against God and family in a violent outburst. Her embarrassed family left the room, and Dr. Milan was left alone with her. "You're tired of yourself, aren't you?" he asked. "You are holding on to your hate and anger because you have nothing else in the world to cling to. Consequently, you have become sour, bitter, resentful." "What is your cure?" asked Charlotte. "The faith you are trying to despise." As they talked, Charlotte softened. "If I wanted to become a Christian and to share the peace and joy you possess," she finally asked, "what would I have to do?" "You would have to give yourself to God just as you are now, with your fightings and fears, hates and loves, pride and shame. I would come to God just as I am. Is that right?" Charlotte did come just as she was, and her heart was changed that day. As time passed, she found and claimed John 6, verse 37, as a special verse for her. "He that cometh to me, I will by no means cast out." Years later, her brother, the Reverend Henry Elliott, was raising funds for a school for the children of poor clergymen. Charlotte wrote a poem, and it was printed and sold across England. The leaflet said, "Sold for the benefit of St. Margaret's Hall, Brighton, in Brighton." And then it said this, "He that cometh to me, I will in no wise cast out." And underneath was Charlotte's poem, which has since become the most famous invitational hymn in history. Charlotte lived to be 82. She wrote about 150 hymns, though she never enjoyed good health. As her loved ones sifted through her papers after her death, they found over 1,000 letters she had kept in which people expressed their gratitude for the way this hymn had touched their lives. And I thought that was one of the most amazing stories that I'd ever heard. And so you've got the words there in front of me. I'm just going to play it if you don't mind. And I tell you, it's a beautiful old hymn. It's called Just As I Am.